Guys, 95% mortgages are back in the UK, which means that you can buy a house with a 5% deposit. More specifically, in the recent 2021 budget, it was announced that a new 95% mortgage guarantee scheme would be introduced, and this will kick off in April, which is a few weeks from when we were making this video.
Today I want to speak to you about the pros and cons of this mortgage guarantee scheme. We want to explain to you how it works exactly. We're going to talk about the eligibility criteria, what lenders are going to be offering a mortgage under this scheme.
We'll also touch on how this scheme compares to the alternatives such as the Help to Buy scheme.
Guys, if you're really enjoying this video, we'd love for you to hit the like button, as well as share this video with one other person who would love to know how they can get involved with this new 95% mortgage guarantee scheme from the government. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well to support us here at The Humble Penny.
Right, so let's dive straight in. So what is the 95% mortgage guarantee scheme?
So this is a new scheme that was announced at the recent 2021 budget, where the government announced that from next month, they're going to start offering these guarantees essentially to help to restart the mortgage market, which had fallen off a cliff as a result of the pandemic. Essentially, they're going to be offering the guarantee of 95% of the mortgage essentially that you might be able to take out, for example, such that you can therefore then put down a 5% deposit in order to be able to buy your own property. To be more specific, although it says it's for 95% being guaranteed, what they're really doing is guaranteeing the 15% above 80%. So 80 plus 15 gives 95%. But this is not the detail for you to worry about. This is more from the bank's perspective. And they're offering that guarantee in the event that, you as a lender potentially default on your payments to the mortgage company. That way, by having that guarantee, the mortgage company feels confident that they'd be able to get their payments by lending you a mortgage for your property. Okay, so who exactly is eligible to apply for this scheme?
So if you're a first-time buyer, you're eligible. And also if you're a home mover, so you're moving into a new home and you already have a property, you're also eligible. However, it is not available if you are an investor and you're hoping to purchase the property with a company, you will not be eligible.
Yeah, you're also not eligible if you're trying to buy a buy-to-let,
Exactly.
Essentially. What you're saying is that this scheme is available to everyone.
It's available to everyone, yes, provided you meet those requirements.
What's really interesting from an eligibility perspective, you can actually buy any property, whether it's a new build or whether it's already a pre-existing property, an older property, up to a value of £600,000, which is quite a big amount that goes as far as helping people who might live in quite expensive cities like London, for example. Mm-hmm. The other point to really mention is that in order to get one of these mortgages, it needs to be a loan to value of between 91% and 95%, which means essentially that the minimum that you can put down as a deposit is 5%, but that can go all the way to 9%, giving us the 91% loan to value being 100, take away 9%. So how long is this scheme actually available for?
So it's going to kick off in April 2021 and it will continue up until December 2022. However, before it ends, there will be a review of this scheme. So does this scheme improve your affordability?
Well, the short answer to this is no. Typically, when you buy a property, when you try and take out a mortgage, they perform affordability checks to make sure, quite realistically, that you can actually afford to buy the property, i.e. that you can borrow the amount that's necessary and that you can actually pay back that money, checking what your outgoings are, what your income is, and then they perform certain stress tests just to make sure, for example, if interest rates went up, would you still be able to afford that property? What this particular scheme does, it allows you to put down a much smaller deposit. That's really what's happening here. So it doesn't allow you to borrow more money because that's based on affordability, but you essentially can put down a much smaller deposit as a result of taking out a 95% mortgage. So as an example, let's say you're buying a property of £400,000 and you were previous to this announcement going to put down a 10% deposit, which would have been £40,000, which would take quite a while to save up potentially. But with this new scheme, you only need to put down 5%, which would be £20,000. So essentially, you'd be able to buy that property a lot quicker by having to save a lot less in order to be able to make your purchase.
Awesome.
All right, so talk to us about which lenders can offer a mortgage under this scheme.
Yes, so the government has said most of the big banks have come on board. Banks such as Barclays, NatWest, HSBC, Santander, and also Virgin Money are planning to join the scheme later on too.
One thing that they've actually mentioned as well is that these banks will need to include a 5-year fixed product.
Yeah.
Okay, so the idea here is so that anyone who takes out a mortgage under this scheme will have predictability of their cash flows. They will be able to predict how much they are paying out, in a mortgage cost every month, essentially, reducing the chances that they might default on their mortgage.
So how does the 95% mortgage guarantee scheme compare to the Help to Buy scheme that's already out there?
Interesting difference is, to put it really simply, the new scheme, the 95% mortgage guarantee scheme, there are really two parties to the transaction as far as you are concerned. There's you, of course, the person who's borrowing by taking on a mortgage. Then, of course, there's the bank that's lending you the money. But on the back of that, there's the government that's guaranteeing an element of that borrowing that's happening, okay? And you have the option of putting down a 5% deposit. But with the Help to Buy scheme, on the other hand, which already exists, you're also putting down a 5% deposit, but this time there are 3 parties to the transaction. So there's you that's borrowing and putting down your deposit. There's the government putting down an equity loan, keyword equity. Then, of course, there's a third party in this transaction, which is the bank that's lending you a certain loan to value. With the Help to Buy scheme, if you put down, say, a 5% deposit, and the government put down, say, a 20% equity loan, that's 25%. The bank would then put a 75% mortgage, giving you a 75% loan to value, so a total of 100%. But in places like London, for example, you can get up to 40% for that equity piece. Essentially, what I'm saying here is that with the new scheme, you have access to 100% of the equity in the property that you're buying. But with the old scheme, the Help to Buy scheme, the government that put the equity piece in, the equity loan, have access to the equity in that property as well. So you don't have 100% of the equity in the property with a Help to Buy scheme. So that would be one key difference between those two schemes. But there are others, but that's the main thing to point out. Okay, so let's summarize this 95% mortgage guarantee scheme for you by looking at the pros and cons for easy reference. So here are the pros that we've identified. Number 1, the scheme will help you put down a smaller deposit. So say, for example, 5%. Number 2, it's well suited to those people who already have a good salary because they will be able to meet the affordability criteria and therefore borrow how much they want, whilst also being able to put down a small deposit of 5%. The third one is that it's available to everyone. So people who are first-time buyers, as well as people who already have a home, but who have the intention of moving somewhere else and purchasing that property as a residential property that they're going to live in. Number 4 is that it's not limited to just new builds. So you basically have a much wider base of stock. You can basically buy any property anywhere within the UK, whether it's a period property or a new build. And that essentially gives you a lot more choice. Number 5 is that you can buy a property of up to 600,000. So even if you lived in a really expensive city like London, you still have quite a large portion there that you can use towards buying a property in such a city. And the final one is that it really helps you to own the whole equity in the property rather than owning a portion of it, as you might do with a Help to Buy scheme.
Okay, so here are the summary of the cons. There'll be more competition for existing properties on the market due to demand, and that's likely to increase the prices. Number 2, it does not improve your affordability of the mortgage. It simply helps you to put down a smaller deposit. Number 3, it exposes you to the potential of negative equity in the future because you're buying at a 95% mortgage.
Yeah, you're essentially borrowing so much more. And in the event that an event like 2008 happened, for example, the property that you buy, the value of that property, because you've borrowed so much, might potentially fall below how much you're owing the bank. Okay, so say, for example, you were owing, say, 250,000, but because the value has fallen and the value fell to, say, 200,000, that would be considered negative equity, and that's only happening because somebody essentially has borrowed quite a lot of money and something's happened to the economy.
Exactly. And it will only be an issue if you plan to sell. But if you stick on it for the long run, it shouldn't be an issue. Number 4, you cannot invest in properties such as a buy-to-let or buy the property as a limited company. And the final one, the scheme is not available indefinitely and will likely run out December 2022, although it will be reviewed before the end date.
So guys, is this scheme one that you are really excited about? Are you somebody who's been waiting for a scheme like this? Let us know in the comments. We'd also love to know what other questions do you have about this 95% mortgage guarantee scheme from the government. Drop them in the chat. We're going to be in the comments in the first hour of this video being released. We're going to be in there answering your questions, just making sure that you have a full picture of what to do next.
That's right, guys. And if you like this video and you found it useful, please do like this video, share it with somebody who you think it would help, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for watching, guys.
Thank you, guys.
And as ever, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.